Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. We're going to be doing another D&D 3.5 Prestige class review today, and we're going to be looking at the Knight of the Middle Circle Prestige class from the Defenders of the Faith sourcebook. Now, the Defenders of the Faith is a 3.0 sourcebook, not a 3.5 one, so there are a few differences and ways in which it's not quite compatible with 3.5, but there is a 3.5 conversion of this, which I will be making reference to as well. Knights of the Middle Circle are members of the Stargazers organization. They're in the second rank of it, the Middle Circle. And the Stargazers are a group that looks to the stars for signs on how they should fight evil. Anybody can accept quests from them, but only the members of the Middle and Inner Circles are truly members of the organization. You need to be a paladin to be a member of the Inner Circle, but to be a member of the Middle Circle isn't quite as restrictive, and in order to do so, he's got to take some levels in this prestige class. So to qualify to be a Knight of the Middle Circle, you're going to need to fulfill the following requirements. You're going to need to be good, aligned, and non-chaotic, which is a little bit weird way of saying you just need to be, neutral good or lawful good. For skills, you're going to need 7 ranks in Handle Animal, 4 ranks in Gather Information, and 4 ranks in Bluff. And you're going to need to have a base attack bonus of +6 or better. So this is going to be open to Rangers, Paladins, Fighters, Knights right off the bat are the easiest ones to think of. They'll have full base attack and access to Handle Animal. There aren't really any classes that are going to have full base attack bonus as well as access to Gather Information and Bluff, as well as having access to Handle Animal, so you are going to have to take some cross-class skill ranks. This won't be too bad if you're playing a Ranger, as they have plenty of skill points, but for the Paladins and Knights and Fighters, well, you better hope you're playing a human or you have a good intelligence score. That does make this prestige class a little bit difficult to get into, but it doesn't require any feats, so all you need to do is make sure your skills are in order, and then you're going to be able to hop right into the Knight of the Middle Circle. So I would rate this one as moderately restrictive, as it is difficult and it will eat up all of your skill points. But it's not too terrible, and again, your feats do stay freed up, so that is nice. What do you get as a Knight of the Middle Circle? Well, you're going to get a D10 hit die. You're going to get 4 plus intelligence modifier skill points per level. You're going to get a full base attack bonus and a goodwill save. It would be nice if you got a good fortitude save as well, but this is tolerable as a structure for a class. The stats are not bad, and that full base attack bonus, of course, is important for any warrior, so that's solid. You're also going to get spellcasting from this prestige class. You're going to get 3 levels of spellcasting, which is a little bit odd, and it's going to work similarly to a lot of spellcasting where you're going to start out with 0 spells per day, but it's based off your wisdom, so if you have a good wisdom score, which if you played a paladin, hopefully you do, and if you played a knight, well, you're going to be stretched a little bit thin. You're going to have to invest in charisma and wisdom. If you came in as a fighter, well, then you just need to have a good wisdom. And honestly, putting the typical 12 into wisdom with the elite array will be good enough. You'll want to put another point in at some point to be able to cast your 3rd level spells, assuming you even get that far in the prestige class. But aside from that, won't be too much of an issue. And the spells that you get, you're going to have half your class level as caster level, which is going to make things pretty bad because it's not even going to be half your character level. It's going to be half your class level. So at most, you're going to have caster level 5th with spells such as Cure Light Wounds, Cure Moderate Wounds. Dispel Magic is going to be all but useless. But there are spells like Bless and Prayer and Divine Favor that will retain some sort of utility at higher levels, but even so, the spell list here looks pretty lackluster. I mean, yeah, there's Magic Weapon, but you're probably going to have a Magic Weapon, so that's not going to be too important. Protection from Evil is always nice. Shield Other is probably one of the best spells on the list. Yes, Dispel Magic is a very powerful spell, but you're not going to have the caster level to back it up. Discern Lies is also good, but your save DC is probably not going to be the greatest. Shield Other, on the other hand, will let you support allies in melee that don't have as many hit points, like maybe the party rogue. A smart opponent that's taking too much damage from the rogue might try to swat him, and you can use Shield Other to soak up some of that damage for your little rogue buddy. So the spell list here is pretty mediocre, and the caster level is pretty abominable. Let's take a look at the class features and see how they stand up. So at level 1, you're going to get Combat Sense +2. This is going to be the most unique feature of the Knight of the Middle Circle. It says that you may designate a single opponent in combat. Against that opponent, you get a +2 Insight bonus to armor class and a +2 Insight bonus on attacks. At level 5, these bonuses increase to +4, and at level 10, these bonuses increase to +6. So at level 10 in this prestige class, you're going to have a pretty hefty bonus to hit and damage, and it's going to be something that stacks with just about everything else in the game. So, while you might be missing out as a fighter on taking stuff like greater weapon focus and other fighter-specific feats, you can still take stuff like melee weapon mastery from Player's Handbook 2 that gives you that raw bonus to your attacks and damage, as you don't need to have fighter levels for that one. And again, you will miss out on some of those higher level fighter options that are specific to fighters, but you're going to get a really great bonus. I mean, +6 to hit, you can turn into +12 damage wielding a two-handed weapon with power attack, and not even sacrifice any accuracy to your attacks. And a +6 bonus to armor class actually might make AC worth investing in. It's kind of funny that you sort of need a good intelligence score to get into this prestige class, without, taking extra levels or being a human. Because if you did and you had combat expertise, you could turn that +6 insight bonus to attack rolls into more armor class if you were willing even to invest in improved combat expertise. And you could have a pretty solid armor class against most of your foes. And again, insight bonus is great. It stacks with almost anything. So this is a pretty solid ability all around. We'll see if it actually is worth it alongside the rest of the prestige class, but it's off to a really great start. You're also going to get Blind Fight at level 1 as a bonus feat. Blind Fight is one of those feats that you always want to just kind of pick up if you are a fighter, and it's not a huge amount of fun. It doesn't let you just do necessarily anything new and exciting, but when you are fighting against invisible foes and any foes with concealment, it really helps you land a lot more hits, and it makes the whole fight just feel a lot better for your fighter. So Blind Fight is a solid bonus feat. Some might disagree, but I definitely think it is if you're getting it for free. Now keep in mind, you are missing out on more fighter bonus feats from taking this prestige class, or alternatively other features. I mean, Paladin's not missing out on quite as much, although Paladin spellcasting is a lot better than this prestige class's spellcasting. But just something to keep in mind, that you're comparing this basically to a bonus feat every other level, and this prestige class as a whole, you're comparing it to 5 bonus feats of any combat feat of your choice. So let's look at level 2. At level 2, you get Tongues. You can use it a number of times per day equal to your Knight class level, plus your Charisma modifier. So here you have to have some Charisma bonus as well, but even if you don't have a Charisma bonus for some reason, it's really not that big of a deal. Tongues is nice. I mean, it will come up once or twice per campaign, but again, pretty situational, and this is a bit of a disappointment to get as your only second level feature, especially considering that your spells per day stays at 0 unless you have a wisdom bonus. At level 3, you get True Strike once a day. This lets you cast True Strike as the spell once per day. Now, you could just get this from taking levels in Wizard or Sorcerer or something, and you will eventually get more uses per day, but you could just take a level in Wizard or Sorcerer if you had the good Charisma for it, and be able to cast True Strike a lot more. The thing is, you wouldn't be able to do it in Armor as a spell-like ability, and you're probably going to want to cast this the round before you enter combat so that you can land a pretty hefty power attack the first round. Even so, I mean, this is nice, but it's not amazing. True Strike, it's cool. I mean, it's better than it is in other editions of the game, certainly. But it's kind of a lackluster feature. At level 4, you don't get anything. At level 5, your combat sense increases to +4, and you get to dip your toes into second level spells if you have a wisdom bonus. Level 6 gives you a second use per day of True Strike, and then there are 2 more dead levels for 7th and 8th level, and then you get a 3rd use of True Strike per day, and then finally at level 10, while it might not seem like much of a capstone, combat sense +6 is pretty cool. Having, again, a +6 insight bonus to armor class and +6 insight on attack rolls really puts you a step ahead when it comes to just all sorts of combat. And while raw numbers isn't always a good thing, for somebody that doesn't want a particularly complicated character, this can be pretty good. And it's an extraordinary ability. It doesn't mention any kind of action to activate, so it should just be something that you can designate at the start of your turn. The wording is similar to dodge, which you just, use at the start of your turn. So this looks pretty flexible, pretty easy to switch from one opponent to the next. Yeah, you can't be attacking between multiple opponents, but you probably don't want to do that as a fighter anyway. You want to focus on one enemy at a time, knocking them down, and then moving on to the next one. So this is basically just a straight-up stats upgrade for your character at the cost of some skill points. You get a kind of useless ability in the form of tongues. Blind Fight is nice to have. True Strike is a nice side feature. Is this worth giving up 5 bonus feats? I would say it's roughly equal. There's really no way to get combat sense from 5 bonus feats that easily. There might be some bizarre combination, but I really can't think of anything that would quite replicate this, especially not taking the True Strike uses into account as well. So the Knight of the Middle Circle definitely gives you a unique set of features. It is a bit sparse. I mean, there are 3 dead levels to this prestige class, and there's really no reason for that. If you're putting in any kind of effort to get into a prestige class like this, you should be able to throw together at least some kind of feature for every level, especially considering that the kind of baseline comparison here, the fighter gets a really good feature every other level. So if you're going to be locked into stuff like, tongues once a day, or a bonus feat like Blind Fight that you can't choose, then you should be able to get something at every level. But as is, this is not a bad prestige class. I would give the Knight of the Middle Circle 2 stars for concept, and I would give it 3 stars for execution. It's definitely average. It's got a really great ability, but there are probably better things you can do with a fighter, obviously. Definitely more powerful things. Combat sense is cool, but it's not going to make the prestige class worth taking just by itself. And it's definitely worth looking into, especially if you do have a good intelligence score and you already have combat expertise and you really want to focus on having an insanely good armor class. This could be a great option for that. Overall, it's definitely worth considering for specific types of characters, and for a somewhat generic character that doesn't want to focus too much on a build that involves a whole lot of bonus feats. It can be a good diversion for most of your character's career, actually, come to think of it. So that'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige Class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.